Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. We've got everything you want. Honey, we know the names. We are the people that can find whatever you may need. If you've got no money, honey.
We've got your disease in the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. And welcome to the Definitive Technologies, aka Def Tech, because that's a very long title, Definitive Technology. These are the Studio Monitor 55s. And they're called the Studio Monitor 55s. Here's a box. And they're called the Studio Monitor 55s. And in no way are these flat enough to put in a studio to monitor for mixing. There's not saying they're bad. I'm just saying that, you know, when you talk about studio monitors, you need like measurement graphs. And I don't think these are going to... These do some interesting things. I picked them up because they're discontinued, which means you're going to click the link in the description and you're all going to go, fuck, I kind of wanted these. Sorry. They're in that perfect price range of like good speaker, like $300 a pair. I think these are right now on Amazon, they're like $320 a pair. You might be able to find them elsewhere for around $300. I gotta look at them. I gotta look at one. I gotta look at you. I look at you. Okay. I'm taking off this because there be a grill on top for the passive radiator, and these grills come off real hard because they're not very, they're like just pegs and rubber, and they're hard to come off. So there it is, naked. 6.5, which is, and it's sunk inside a lip, which bothers the hell out of me, like you can't imagine. Because usually on a speaker, I have here, usually on a speaker where the surround ends and you've got this gentle curve, and that becomes a waveguide because it projects the sound. That's the best example of a waveguide you'll ever fucking see is on the JBLs. It's controlling all the movement of vibrations. And this speaker has a waveguide that is literally it's in a hole. It's in a hole, which is like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's got something to do with this, which is a phase plug. Now, you've seen other speakers I reviewed with phase plugs. The RBH speakers had phase plugs. The Flow-On Signatures have a phase plug. The Yamos all have a phase plug. Except for the new Yamos that are coming out. Those don't. But what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to control when the cone moves. This thing in the middle here is just a dust cap. It doesn't need to be there to make the speaker function. So if you make it a solid, unmoving entity attached through the speaker to the magnet, it will, usually it's shaped like a cone, and it creates a wave. It's like an inner waveguide. So you got an outer waveguide and an inner waveguide that control the flow of sound. So this has a fucked up outer waveguide that does this thing where it's like, I'm going to completely cover a third of the surround with hard plastic and have it curve in. And then it's got this waveguide that looks like they took a golf ball and squished it so that it's huge and it's soft rubber, and it's got these dots on it, which the dots are usually, I see those on ports, and you see them on golf balls to prevent air resistance and to make the sound not happen when chuffing. It's okay. It's okay. This isn't the problem with the speaker. This isn't the problem with the speaker. Up here, just like on the, I could count the speakers that have used passive radiators on one hand. The Vanuatu T1s, the Vanuatu T0s, the Buchart S200s. Is that it? The Def Tech 55s? Someone who's better than I am, tell me about my videos and tell me if there's another set of speakers that I reviewed that has a passive radiator on it. Because I don't think there is. Passive radiators hold on. Come here, JBL. I will use you as an example of a normal speaker, which is strange because you're amazing. There's a port. See the port? Air comes in and out of that port. Why? Because this driver goes in and out, and the air pressure in here gets changed. And because this port is perfectly designed with the length and the diameter, and it knows how the driver moves, they can tune it like an instrument to perform bass duties based on that. So if you seal the box like the Dayton B652s, or the Canto Bends, or the MT110s from Power Sound Audio, the speaker has a much harder time moving when there's no way for the air to go. So you could turn it up real loud and the speaker moves really hard, but it doesn't let air out, so it's actually more controllable. So when you port something, you sort of lose a little bit of control. And the next step up from porting is a passive radiator, which means when this speaker moves in and out, instead of the pressure escaping through a hole, it literally moves this. So if I push down on this, you can see the actual driver moves. When I move the driver, you can see the passive radiator moves. The difference between every other speaker that I've reviewed with a passive radiator and this one is this passive radiator is on the top and it's fucking massive. Like, that is massive. That is way more surface area than that driver is. And it's up and down, which is strange because usually gravity exists. In case you haven't noticed and you want to take notes, gravity exists on the planet Earth. And that means when it's on the back, if you have a front and back, that's fine because gravity isn't acting on it. It's going in and out and there's resistance moving on it. But since you have it on the top now, that means when the speaker goes in, it's forcing against gravity. When it comes back down, gravity's sort of helping. Now it's a little bit of gravity, but it's still gravity. But what does that do to the speaker? Well, here's the thing. I definitely could never play these speakers during the day. I do a lot of speaker playing during the day quietly. The problem with these speakers is they have hammers on the top that literally hammer into the floor. These are not apartment speakers. I had them set up when I first got them on my table here. That's not a dildo, it's a butternut squash. So stop calling it a dildo. But I had them set up on that table, and I forget which amp, and I remember I was breaking them in, because you got to break in speakers. I think they all need to move, especially something with that many surrounds. It needs to just move until it's used to moving and everything's loosened up, and then you can judge it. And it was shaking, because I had both of those speakers on this table, and it was just hitting the fucking floor. Just hitting it. And I didn't even have that much power going into it. So sitting up here on my stack, well, those are my Doom stacks. Sitting up here using my Ohm Walsh 2000s as speaker stands and running off of monoblocked A500 amps, which are throwing 600 watts at them each, I could break things. So is bass what they have? We'll get to that. Let's talk about the tweeter, because I was describing everything and now I'm describing the tweeter. The tweeter, it's the weakest link on this DefTech. It's very sharp. It's very accurate. But it does another weird thing where it's way recessed, and the waveguide starts a little bit too far forward. The waveguide is way too small. And then the waveguide comes out, and then it flattens. So it's literally restricting the waveguide to just that much. Because the sound won't travel, I mean, maybe the sound will travel backwards. But, so the tweeter is the weakest link of these entire speakers. They're going to get a recommendation, but there's very specific things you need to know about them before you make a purchase or start pursuing them. So, what the fuck are they? I'm going to call these home theater speakers. I'm going to call these home theater speakers when you can't afford a subwoofer. Because, and here's the thing, DefTech, clean your eyes, ew. DefTech does home theater. They do full 5.1 surround, 7.1 Atmos bounce speakers. I have them set up at the goddamn room at New York Audio Show and Can Jam. And I've stood there and I've listened and gone, wow. And they have passive radiators in the back. They love this sort of game. This is the first set of DefTechs I've ever reviewed. So I bought them with the Patreon money, and I'm going to sell them when I'm done on the Patreon. I don't love them enough to keep them. They're not like, oh my god, they're certainly unique. They fit my criteria for review to a T. What do you got here? DefTech, have you done them? No. What are they? Speakers, how much? Around $300? That's pretty good. What do? They have a passive radiator the size of an iPad on top. Well, shit. Back has, it's perfectly set up. I don't want to move it. Back has 5 binding posts split, so you can power the tweeter and the woofer separately if you wanted to. Honestly, don't bother on any speaker less than like several hundred, like $1,000 set of speakers. You could think about bi-amping, not by wiring. Bi-wiring doesn't do shit. Bi-amping, and then if you really want to get crazy nuts, like you couldn't even mini DSP because then you had to pull the crossovers out. Stop talking about this. Play another song. Play another song. All right, let's go back. This is Jeremy Soule. Oh wait, this is Jeremy Soule from the Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Towers and Shadows. And I'm just going to sit here. These speakers have a presence that you don't get from other speakers. My own Walshes that you see below, they're semi-omnidirectional. I reviewed them. There's an 8-inch driver pointing straight down, and it shoots in all directions outwards. That's why the glass behind it is fine. Treat your room, Zeos. No, have own Walshes. You can't treat your room. It has to use the whole room. And then the tweeters are mostly pointed forward. They're not fully omnidirectional, and that's good. It keeps everything nice and centered. What these speakers do is they throw sound forward and then up. But it's not like the tweeters. It's just this rumbly. This is a perfect example song. I'll skip forward a little bit. Too far. Ooh. I said earlier, do they have bass? And I said, no, I'll get back to it. So here's the thing. They don't have, like, I've listened to speakers, like the Bootcard S300s have probably the best low end of any bookshelf I've ever listened to. And there's other speakers that come close. I love those fluids, and those aren't really bookshelves, but I love the Kefs here throw a lot of low end. The Yamos, oh my God, the big Yamo C103s, love them. These don't do bass like as well as those speakers do, but they do something completely unique. And it only happens, and here's the problem with these speakers, it only happens when I take my volume slider and move it from like listening volume to we're at 600 watts now, folks, volume. So they're a little inefficient. They played on low volume. I had them play, and they will play at low volume. Now, obviously, any speaker will play down. Let me see. Let me lower it to like take 34 decibels. No, take 30 decibels off that song. That's a little bit too low. All right, here's 16 decibels off that song. This is doing its thing. Yeah, they're making sound. But in order to activate these speakers, they've got to be peaking. Just fucking peaking. Because you're moving two masses with this driver. When this one's just doing it and this one's sort of lagging behind, they're not in sync. If this was a powered driver and that was a powered driver, then it wouldn't matter. But you're required to have this one push so hard that that one makes go, and it requires power. Otherwise, the speakers just sound, I don't know, normal. It sounds like a set of Polks in here. At low volume, just like these JBL 305Ps, if you've not seen the review of that, I'm sure it's come out before this review. 305Ps versus the Mackie 524 are more likely the 624. The 305Ps sound amazing. Up. At room fucking volume, up. But the Mackies sound good from every volume conceivable and up. And other speakers, most speakers, will sound good at low volume or acceptable. And these at low volume are just like, I don't want to. I'm like, I've had them in the room for like 3 fucking days. And every time the businesses are open downstairs and I can't play them loud, it's just, why bother? It's why bother. Other speakers I could put on and I could still sit here and enjoy the imaging and all the sounds. But once you can't make these speakers loud, it's why bother. It's why bother. So you play them and it's just like, escape. All right, let's jump. So here's a no bass song. Unless it's gonna hit bass. Still a big song. This is where the problem with the tweeters come in. I'm not giving these a bad review. Chewbacca, I'm not giving these a bad review. There's very specific things. There's problems, but they do so much right at very specific moments that I can't be like, oh, these are shit, don't buy them. You can't buy them anyway, they're out of stock. They're discontinued. And I'm not gonna use this as a full definition of what Def Tech is capable of, but I like the crazy here. This is crazy stuff. Not all of it works. Honestly, can't tell you if this dispersion of this phase plug and the way it is holding back. I've had to twist them and turn them quite a bit. I know the Kef Q350s, I gave them the full toe-in treatment, and one was pointed that way and one was pointed this way, and that fixed them. These don't need that. I feel like the tweeter on these is the letdown because it's super sharp and delicate, but it's like it doesn't do enough. I feel like they've capped the tweeter way high, like 6,000 and up. And you want like a nicer lower roll off. You want to have the low end do its thing, and then nice warm mid range, and then the tweeter comes in. And I feel like this thing is just I feel like the mid range is lacking. Let's change songs. Nope. Nope. Ooh.
I was so downhearted, baby.
See, I can't even say the mid range is lacking because I'm getting that was decent imaging right here because it's an old track and it's probably not centered, and I definitely have them centered because you do all that shit where you move it like quarter inch when you hear it's not correct in mono. I'm making up reasons why you should buy these, and there's very few, unless you want to experience something different. Because going back to, okay, the tweeters, they're like 8% higher than I need them to be, and I could fix that with my mini DSP. I could fix that. I'm not going to though, because you're going to buy these and you're not going to have a mini DSP, so I don't do that. If you'll also notice, my couch has moved all the way back, which is usually done when I do reviews and sound demos, but I moved it back and all of a sudden, hey, you know, these speakers aren't so bad anymore. And the reason for that is I'm another 4 feet further back from the tweeters. Just gotta get a little further back. Those tweeters can get like...
Shoot me out of the blue.
Ah!
Out of the blue.
It's there. You do not want to be close. Oh, these work on a desk, Zeos? Fuck no. Fuck no. No. No, 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 no. Get out. Get away. No. No. Hell no. Even Chewbacca's looking like, no, hell no, those don't work on a desk. But they will work for music if you're far enough away. If you could sit, this room from this wall to that TV is 15 feet. If I sit down, my head is a foot from this wall, and those speakers are about a foot out. So you're 13 feet away, that's fine. And then you get this presence. And I'll go back, now we're going back to the good. All right, so the tweeters are just like, oh, you're a little bit too defined. It's like they're focusing, and that's what the problem with that little waveguide is. If it was a big spread out waveguide, they could take that tweeter and maybe tone it down and it would still disperse properly, but they have to really fuck you with that tweeter. But now back to the actual, the reason. No. It's clear. They're clear. From back here, it's clear. This is Uncle Radiohead. Everything is in its right place. Uncle Sounds edit. And a song like this, and I have to keep every once in a while checking to see if my Crown's subwoofer amp is kicking these on, because I have settings that'll turn the Crown amp on and not throw bass to these, and it's not on, and it still does this weird. Let me sing. I know what the best song is. I know what the best song is, guys. It's all right. Toccata. Now, I don't know if I could play like this entirely through because, you know, bad things. But this is the type of song, and I know I can't go to full volume with this. This is a song you do the candy test to. And this is the only speaker you could do the candy test to. I'm sure you could do it to other speakers. It won't be as fun on video. But, so this is the BMV Toccata of 565. T-O-C-A-T-A. Okay, so that's the sort of what you're seeing these candy do. Imagine if you had like a 5-year-old and he's sitting on the floor and he's just making shit move like that on the fucking floor. That's what these are doing to the floor. And they're shooting sound waves up in that sort of fervor. So you're getting this fucking whoa. This song is whoa. It's literally... Organs this is perfect. They're perfect for organs. They got sharp enough for organs. They've got that shit going on. Chewbacca's all like, what the fuck is happening? So they're moving air up and they're shaking the floor. And that's the, like, it's great. It almost reminds me, and this is going to be an insult, of like the SkullCandy crushers with the little subwoofers in them that make your ears vibrate. It's like that. Because while that's doing its job as like a port or a passive radiator, it's more for just fucking the ground up underneath the speaker. Which, look, I'm not saying this is a terrible idea and they shouldn't do it. Absolutely do it. I know some people who would just shit their pants if they heard these, and they want them. I'm going to put these for sale on the yard sale. So one of my patrons is going to throw an amount of money at me, and they're going to win these, and they want them for that reason. They hate their downstairs neighbors. Or they want this Dolby Atmos. Everyone keeps telling me to review Atmos. And Yamo is sending me an Atmos setup. I don't have an Atmos receiver, but I have height channels. So I'm going to use those. Actually, I'm going to use the height channels. I'm going to swap out and use the rear channels with whatever. The point is, one of the benefits of like front height or Atmos speakers is it makes the sounds go up above your head. Now those are talking about full range sounds up there. But if you just want to have speakers that sound like they're way, way bigger than they are, this is a good answer. This is a good answer. That is just shit's happening up here now. It's happening out and it's happening up and it's happening down. And if you had soft enough floors, I'm pretty sure my the ohm grills are actually good dampening because they're pretty soft, are not allowing all the transfer down, but it's like, whoof. What are these speakers like? Whoof. All right, let's talk about other things other than pipe organs. Now, again, keep in mind everything I'm talking about is at volume, is at like fucking volume where you can't hear me speaking anymore because they're up so fucking loud. So you can enjoy music on these, absolutely 100%. When the bass kicks on, if you got a Deadmau5 song come on, it's like, it's why you bought these. You have to be the bass head. If you're a bass head, this isn't what I would consider like true low end, where it's like a, ooh, it's like a, if you've ever heard, not an infinite baffle, but I forget what it's called. They have the Fostex sells the design where it's one little driver, and there's this massive box that it tunnels all the low end through, and it sounds like a pipe organ. That pipe organ didn't sound like a pipe organ. As much as I said, oh, it sounded, it didn't. It shook the room like there was a pipe organ in it, but to my ears, which is what matters here, it didn't sound like a pipe organ. It doesn't sound like bass. It feels like bass. It's a very unique feature. People who own those Honda Civics where the trunks fart every time a bass note happens would fucking love these speakers because they're used to just feeling bass and not hearing it. I can't knock it because it's definitive technologies and it's not a terrible fucking idea. It's just not what I would go with in my personal listening setup. If you have just a dedicated home theater for movies, this is great. If you have music tastes and they're actually on the little bit of the bass light side. So even though these are crazy faux bass, the problem is they're faux bass. So you listen to Leonard Skinner, you're not going to be offended at all. You're going to get those crystalline highs. If you sit far enough back, you get guitars. You got a good imaging in the center. Soundstage, like speakers sounding wider than they are. Honestly, these don't do that. Probably because their drivers are recessed. You do get that above height though. So when you hit it, ooh, fuck the White Stripes. We got the Westworld soundtrack. Pariah, Paint It Black, No Surprises, Nitro Heist, motion picture soundtrack. You want to cry? You watch Westworld and listen to the motion picture soundtrack fucking track. You fucking cry like a baby. No one's that badass. Nobody. There we go. There's the one I want. Freeze all motor functions. Right, listen or feel with me. That's like everything's everywhere. Everything's everywhere. It's just much movement. I could feel it. I could feel it. Just, it's angry to walk next to this. It's like, ugh. It's kind of like when I reviewed the goddamn PB6. Was it the PB16? It was the PB16. It was just like you walk next to it and you feel all this air moving. It's like your arms stand up. These are violent fucking speakers. And I fucking respect that. And they're different speakers, and I fucking respect that. And for the cost of $300, it's not the end of the world. That's like what every speaker should cost. You know, the CAF Q100s, you're going to get a different sound, a different approach. And these are the most different approach. Well, no, they're not the most different approach. There's other approaches that are different, but this is unique. I don't know about this. This is unique as far as I know. This is unique. You throw it on and it's just... It's doing things that sound doesn't normally do. And I would hesitate to even imagine what a goddamn measuring microphone would do if you pointed in this room and said, fix this. It would go, what the fuck is happening? And you'd have to do it at multiple different volume levels, because as soon as you lower this song that's just like kicking my ass, you just... Oh, I fucked up. Here it is again. Skip it. Like it's doing... It's like, alright. It's still just alright. It's alright. Okay, wait a second. I hope that's not getting me pulled or demonetized, but it just goes, you could just hear it ramp up, and all of a sudden, the whole front of the room is alive. So, who's buying these speakers? Are you buying these speakers? Well, you probably can't. Check the link in the description. They're probably not even there. But if you can, and again, I'm going to say, I didn't play any movies, but when you put on a movie with something like this, and you get that car explosion, why do you need a subwoofer? If you had 5 of these, if you had a center, a matching center, 2 of these in the back, you set it to no sub, full range all around, you just, fucking whole floor would fall down. These are very special and very specific. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Would I recommend matching with a sub? So here's the thing. If you get a sub, eating leaves, Chewbacca. If you get a sub, and you cut these off at like 50, what's the point of having them? What's the point of having them? Because you bought them because they're this crazy jackhammer shit, and then you're going to feed all the signal down to a sub, so it's like, yeah, you'll still get some of that up there in like the mid-range tone, but if you want to really use these speakers, you got to let them free. You got to let them free. Let them free. So yeah. Links in the description if you're interested in them. Links to the wallpaper, which is very safe for work today. I apologize, but I have to get through some of these. Link to these. Link to that. I think I said every song. If you're going to ask me what song I played, at least put a timestamp, and I probably won't know it anyway. I'm definitely putting these in the yard sale. For the people who don't know what the fuck the yard sale is, on the Patreon that pays for this channel to do its things. Pays for Chewbacca's food as well. When I'm done reviewing something after I bought it, I will sell it internationally or local or domestically to the highest bidder. And the bidding happens once a month. If you've seen this video and it's April, May, probably April. If you've seen this video in April, come May 1st through the 10th, you could probably buy these. And I'll ship them to you for free. Whatever you bid. $75. If no one else wants them, I send them to you. I pay shipping, and I'd probably take a loss. So I have a UPS business account now, so it should make that a little bit better. But yeah, no, now that I could sell these, I'll have a space on my shelf, and I'll get to put those fluids on there. So yeah, okay. Sound demo is completed, and it was a pain in the dick. I'll say, I did it before this little session. It's a pain in the dick. Because you can't capture that. I'd have to have microphones everywhere to make that happen. It's very hard with omnidirectional stuff when you're trying not to capture the room. So take the sound demo with a grain of salt. I also had them way off axis to try to kill some of that murder tweeter, because again, I don't want to put the microphones back here or you'll just get room acoustics. So yeah, links to that, links to the wallpaper, links to my Patreon, links to the Reddit recommendations guide below, and there's a website that I'm working on with someone that should do recommendations through like a series of clicks and budget things. So I'll link to that. That's hifiguides.com. It's still very beta, so be kind when you scream at me about it. It's probably not working. But yeah, okay. I think we're good. And I'm going to go and probably have some ice cream. Bye. Oh, and one last thing. Fuck shiny plastic. Both of you, detention. 4 fucking years.